radio is broadcast on LSL Podcast Channel. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the channel.
And I thought a lot about this over the weekend. You know, we all know Trump's comments. We'll play them in a moment from the Alabama speech on Friday. Like, if I were he, I wouldn't use, SOB. I wouldn't say the SOBs. I wouldn't do that. There are a couple of different arguments you could make here. One argument is that Trump, of course, is right as a practical matter, I just think as a factual matter, he is right. That the idea that players would not stand, players who make millions of dollars in a sport dominated by African Americans, that they would not stand for the national anthem and take that as their big opportunity to make a statement, to me is, I have to personally say, I cannot understand that. If you want to, give a speech about race relations or write an op-ed or write a letter to the editor or use your own foundation or website to address matters of political concern that you really care about, I think that's a different thing. And I don't even have a problem with that. I really don't. You're an American. You can speak out in any way you want. But there's something about doing it during a game or pregame where the nation is together. People of all backgrounds are watching football. And so, by the way, since when is taking a knee a sign of disrespect? Even if you do want to say I don't agree with X, whatever X is. Taking a knee in sports, I played, a lot of sports as a kid. Taking a knee, you took a knee when someone was injured. Remember that? You took a knee when someone else on the other team or your team gets injured. You took a knee usually to pray or to just take a moment of relative silence in order to hope that they're better. That was, when I played hockey, field hockey or softball or basketball, you went down on your knee if somebody got badly injured. So it wasn't a sign of disrespect. Since when? Now taking a knee is even ruined. Like my coaches might take a knee. Someone broke an ankle or take a knee. Someone got hit in the head with a field hockey ball, take a knee. But now even that's wrecked. So on the one hand, I completely agree, and you all know this, I completely agree with the president. There are a lot of players, and I'm not saying all, but a lot of players who frankly are spoiled brats at this point. And they're not showing gratitude to the fans or to the veterans or to the active duty servicemen and women who are now deployed around the globe, who aren't making millions of dollars to protect them. They're not showing respect to them by doing what they're doing. So I'm going to set all that aside. I agree with the sentiment that that's just not the right place or the right time to express your upset.
I do not think the place to express yourself in society is as we recognize the American flag and all the people that have made this great country, the very opportunity for us to be there in front of the nation. So that's not the place to do anything other than honor the flag and everybody that's given up a little for it.
Now, you might hate Jerry Jones because you hate the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of people hate the Cowboys. But I respect that statement coming from him because, remember, he's outnumbered now because a lot of the owners decided to make this a big political statement on Sunday. Even Dan Snyder linked arms with the Redskins. I got to say, I didn't watch the entire Redskins game. I'm a Redskins fan. I didn't watch the whole game. I'm sick of this stuff. And I'm not watching the NFL. I think I watched 5 minutes of the Redskins. I'm glad they won. 5 minutes of the Redskins, and I watched a little of Pittsburgh Steelers. They are the worst fans. The Pennsylvania fans are terrible fans. They're just out of control in the stands there. So I watched a little bit of the Steelers, and that's pretty much it. I just didn't. So I was kind of soured. I don't know how you all feel, but I was kind of soured on football this weekend. No, man, The Alabama game was just such a domination, such a blowout, 59-0. Did you all see? Why are they? And they're playing Vanderbilt. God bless Vanderbilt. I love Vanderbilt. It's a great school in Nashville. But it's like playing a Pee-wee team. The Alabama team just dominated. A friend of mine who was there said they could have won 100-0. I said, well, you guys shouldn't have run up the score to 59. He said, well, we had our sixth string in. Quarters 3 and 4, we had a lot of six string players in. Jalen Hurt he took him out. I took him out in the third quarter. Anyway, so on the one hand, I agree with the sentiment that these players are using the wrong forum to express their whatever it is. On the other hand, I can see it from this perspective. Why elevate Colin Kaepernick? Why elevate any of these? Why elevate Steph Curry? You know what I would have said? But I'm not Trump. Trump's going to just shoot from the hip on this. But what I would have said is, I love watching Steph Curry play. I'm sorry he doesn't want to come to the White House or might not want to come to the White House. But I welcome players. I look forward to meeting all the championship teams because sports brings us together as a nation without regard to politics. But I wish the players well, whether they come or not. Now, in my view, that would have kind of put Steph Curry in his place a little bit. It wouldn't have elevated him. Now he's a bigger deal than he already is on this issue. So you empower people and topics that, I don't know, maybe you can dress in a way, but I kind of think it I don't know if it's backfired on the president, but that it takes him off the clear path of tax reform, get this Obamacare repeal done. It looks like it's less likely to pass now. But here's a good way of asking it. Would you rather see the president focused on tax reform and spreading the gospel of conservatism, populist conservatism, with a great infusion of patriotism, I might add? Would you rather see him putting his energy and his time into that, or do you prefer the fallout that we saw over the weekend? 855-40-LAURA. Now, for those of you who, were doing something and missed what was happening over from Friday on, this is part of what the president said in Alabama. He did this big rally for Big Luther Strange. And there's some other funny things that happened, by the way, during this speech. But this is where he went off script. Let's listen.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
The crowd ate it up. The crowd loved it because I think most Americans are tired of having everything politicized. So here's the question. Would you rather have the president focused on conservative populism, tax reform, maybe infrastructure, really bringing home the bacon on the Obamacare repeal? Or is this a welcome deviation from that? And does this actually force a conversation on, patriotism, civic dialogue, sports and politics that is welcome today? 855-40-LAURA. And how many of you decided not to? How many of you decided to take a knee in protest of what the NFL players were doing and not watch? There was a piece today in the Washington Post, I believe it was the Washington Post, about how the stands just aren't full at these NFL games now. And they're kind of attributing it to the changing stadiums. This is they've built a lot of new stadiums, so there's more seats and more expensive. I don't know if that's the reason. I'm not sure if that's the reason people aren't showing up at the games. Maybe. So we're also going to get to this really interesting column that Robert Samuelson wrote. Maybe we might have him on later in the week. It's a cool topic about driverless cars and how we should be very careful how we rush into this technology. Google's been working on this for about a decade already. I saw one of those creepy Apple mapping cars this weekend in my neighborhood. Creepy white. It was a white car with a white thing on its roof. I don't know what it was spinning around.
It was like a big old dome camera.
Yeah,
probably.
I didn't like that. It was the Apple, and that's the Apple driverless car. They're mapping the roads for their driverless technology. Google's way ahead of Apple, though, on this. But it creeped me out. But there's an interesting piece about how before we just rush headlong and embrace this technology, we better understand that anything that gives you a portal, a way into your safety, is something we better be very careful about, alluding to the fact that hackers can take control of your vehicle, kill the brakes, speed it up, change your destination, and then what? Talk about it. Making it easier to kidnap somebody. But it was a very interesting piece. The title is Hackers Behind the Wheel. We're going to get into that. Fascinating. Germany looks like they've escaped the, they've escaped the real hurricane of populism. But Merkel's weakened after these elections over the weekend. We'll talk about that. And this NFL thing it's an interesting way to think about this. Empowering your critics, disempowering your critics. How to do that? Now, Trump's a different animal. He's going to do it the way he wants, but it is an interesting thing to think about. You might be able to peel off some of these African-American players with tax reform, with infrastructure, with just showing up and maybe going to one of their charitable events. You might be able to actually use pop culture in your favor while you stay true to your principles. I'm not sure using the SOB language is the way to do that. I mean, we know they use terrible language, so it's nice to hear about how offended they are. But I'll get into all that. I have a lot more to say on this topic. 855-40-LAURA. We're going to talk to a former NFL player and Army Green Beret coming up. Andy McCarthy is going to stop by. Governor Paul LePage of Maine also has some interesting developments in that state, which we want to hit. All coming up on your Healthy Radio Addiction.
If you've listened to my show for any period of time, you know how much I love Food for the Poor. They do what they say. Their financial integrity is unequaled, and I've seen their work personally. I'm so excited to work with them again this year. In Haiti, 1 out of 14 children will never see the age of 5 without our help. Together, we're going to save the lives of 4,200 children. $50 provides food for a year and clean water for life for a suffering child. Call 844-868-4673 or go to lauraingraham.com. That's 844-868-4673 or go to lauraingraham.com.
Donald Trump this morning leaving New Jersey, heading back to Washington, 855-40-LAURA. We have a lot of other stories to get to. In addition to the travel ban, the number of countries expanded. The deadline, of course, was upon us, but the Trump administration said it's more important than ever that we keep this travel ban in effect. So that's good news. But I love on MSNBC today, they kept saying, well, we should be talking about other issues like the travel ban and Obamacare. We should be doing. Then, you know what my response to them is? Then talk about them. You're just following what Donald Trump wants you to talk about. Donald Trump loves this conversation about patriotism and elite pro athletes, spoiled individuals. The only reason they're allowed to do what they do in safety and security is because we have men and women in uniform, first responders and U.S. military, who are willing to work for a fraction, a tiny fraction of what they work for, what they get paid, to keep them safe. That's the only reason they're able to play this game, where they knock heads with each other once a week, and they make millions of dollars for having done so. So the men and women in uniform, I mean, they bleed only one color. That's the color of red. Okay? And the red, white, and blue for them means something. And I will also add this in this conversation. Standing for the national anthem does not mean that you support Donald Trump. Let's go over this and really understand this. Okay? Think about just standing for the national anthem. How does that mean you support the president's policies? And it doesn't even mean that you agree with the current U.S. government at all. It doesn't mean that you endorse everything that happened in American history. It doesn't even mean that you believe the United States is fundamentally a just place. If it meant any of those things, then, frankly, no social conservative could stand for the anthem, given the Supreme Court has held that our Constitution protects abortions. The reason we stand for the anthem, no matter how disappointed we are in the country, is to show that we love our country and wish it well. That's all. That's the reason we stand. There's a lot of reasons for people who are conservative not to stand for this anthem, but they do because they love America. 855-40-LAURA. Gentlemen, the Genucel warehouse sale from Chamonix is clearing out fast. Of course, I knew it would. But you can order now to get double your order of Genucel for free. It's a natural plant stem cell treatment with advanced peptides for those pesky bags and puffiness under the eyes. You know, the way you feel sometimes on a Monday morning. And with Genucel's great quick effects, you'll see amazing results in just a matter of hours. So call now and get double your order of Genucel for free. It's backed by the best customer service in the business and an ironclad 60-day money-back guarantee, so it's a no-brainer. By the way, when you call now, you're going to get a 2-month supply of the Deep Firming Serum, also free, which is awesome. I use it. And then you call in the next 20 minutes, you get a free 2-month supply of Esotique RF, which is, I think, the most popular anti-wrinkle treatment that Chamonix makes. It's phenomenal. You're going to love all this. So it's your 4th free gift, basically. So you call 800-480-5206. 800-480-5206. It's not even Christmas yet Chamonix is giving you all these gifts. Again, skin care that you can believe in at Chamonix. 800-480-5206.
You know what's hurting the game? When people like yourselves turn on television and you see those people taking the knee when they're playing our great national anthem. The only thing you could do better is if you see it, even if it's one player, leave the stadium. I guarantee things will stop. Things will stop. Just pick up and leave. Pick up and leave.
This has nothing to do with race. I've never said anything about race.
The owner of the New England Patriots, Bob Kraft, even expressed his dismay over the president's comments. And many other NFL coaches did the same. Standing on the field with their players, linking arms, a great show of solidarity. You know what I'd like a great show of? Some good play. I'd like to see some great NFL play because that's what people pay them to do. If we want to watch pundits, we can tune into cable news. We want play, players, play, not politics, but play. Joining us now, I'm delighted he's with us. Nate Boyer is a former NFL long snapper for the Texas Longhorns, Seattle Seahawks, and U.S. Army Green Beret. He's been taking this all in over the weekend, and he joins us now. Nate, how you doing? Good to talk to you.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm very well. So give us your general take on the state of things.
It's, frustrating, a lot of it. I feel like at this point, everyone in our country has to pick a kickball team to play with and be on one side or the other. And it's just this further division. I feel like we're gearing up for, Civil War II or something. It's kind of sad.
Well, I always admire professional athletes for their drive and determination and to become an elite athlete of the strength and the determination that they have. It's wild. I mean, it takes years and years of practice since you were a little kid usually, and it's about merit. In the end, it's about merit. If you can do the job and you do it better than anyone else, you'll make the cut. Maybe you'll be the 3rd or 4th string, but you'll make the cut. If not, you don't make the cut. There's no affirmative action in the NFL. It's dominated by African American players, which is fine. I have the best of the best. Get the best people. But it's a very different thing when a professional a professional level competition becomes a platform for political protest. That divides the country. People were saying Donald Trump divided the country over the weekend. I think that the country had been divided. It was divided last year during the Obama administration when Colin Kaepernick decided to make this his big moment in the sun. So if I want punditry, I'll tune into cable news or read the op-ed page. But if I want play, I watch professional sports.
Yeah, I mean, I miss more than anything the fact that for 3 hours every week, an NFL team, you go to the stadium, regardless of politics, color, sexual orientation, whatever. Everybody wears the same jersey, same colors in the stadium, and cheers for the same team, and kind of forgets about all that stuff. And we're losing that right now, and that sucks, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But not even but in tow with that. I mean, yeah, we are being pulled apart by everybody. It's not one person. It's not one side. It's both sides, and it's this. I'm waiting for somebody to step up. I'm waiting for, I guess, an opinion or someone in a high place to step up and show some humility and just kind of let it go and reach across and meet with the other side, sit down with the other side. I wish these players that, and I'm a Golden State Warriors fan. I'm a huge Steph Curry fan. So this, the whole thing about not going to the White House, in my opinion, I'm like, look, man, I followed you. I think you're an intelligent young dude. You're obviously a great athlete. Go to the White House. You don't have to like the president. You don't have to agree with it, but go to the White House and maybe that's an opportunity to sit down and have that conversation that needs to be had. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe that's where we start moving forward and actually developing something.
That's a nice way to say it.
Kind of coming back together.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's a nice way to say it. And look, part of me is a lot of these guys are punks. I mean, that's part of me. That's the old-fashioned Connecticut Yankee in me. It's like, you got to be kidding me. You guys are the elite of the elite. You make millions of dollars to play a game, and you're can't stand for the national anthem? You got to be kidding me. That's part of me. Right. The other part of me is don't elevate silliness or disrespect by further demonizing it. It's almost like you give your adversaries more power by elevating them, I think, in a way as Donald Trump did on Friday. Suddenly, they have a bigger platform now. Now everybody's, or a lot of people are kneeling, or a lot of people are. I'm not sure that's the right way to go. I'm really not, and I agree with generally what the president said.
But I mean, you got to look at it that way from the other side too. If he didn't say that, there wouldn't have been all those people kneeling and staying in locker rooms as much. There wouldn't have been this huge stir. It was it wasn't so much that they were protesting the anthem and the. It wasn't even that they were protesting the anthem and the flag. It's that they're protesting the president's remarks, and they're using the anthem and the flag as the time to do that, which I don't agree with because the anthem and the flag represents 350 million people. It doesn't represent one person. So that's where that's where I'm getting really frustrated with things because it was they're in my opinion, and what it looks like is they're protesting the president. They're not protesting.
Oh, of course they are.
What they're originally supposed to be protesting. So it's that's not Donald Trump's song. That's not the president's anthem. It's not his flag. It's ours. You know what I mean? So
I say it this, and we're talking to Nate Boyer, former long snapper for the Longhorns and the Seahawks, also U.S. Army Green Beret. I think about this when people protest the anthem, and it started with Colin Kaepernick. And by the way, the case that he was protesting, it turns out the officer in Minnesota was acquitted of any wrongdoing. So the initial reason for Colin Kaepernick having protested, turns out that a jury of the peers in this particular case ruled, after full consideration of all the evidence, that the officer did not act with racial animus or inappropriately with the use of force. So that just, people forget the original thing. The thing, it never becomes important after so much time. But I just want to say that so people understand that. Philando Castile case. But when people protest the anthem, they're not sending a patriotic message. That's my view. Instead, what they're doing is that they're telling the rest of us that they don't like this country very much, and they wish it ill. They don't like the country very much. They don't like the way it is very much. Okay, well, a lot of us don't like the way the country is, but we still stand for the flag.
Right. Yeah, and another interesting point is the reason that we play the Star Spangled Banner and at sporting events is it started in World War I during the World Series to honor the soldier, well, the troops, not soldiers. I'm in the Army. I always say soldier and I get blasted. Honor the troops, who were fighting and those who had already lost their lives. It was because of the military they started playing that song in 1917. The Star Spangled Banner became the national anthem in 1934. So it's older than the anthem, the song itself, and why we do it, and the reason that we do it, and it's honoring those. So everyone's like, well, it's not about the military, it's not about the military. I understand you're not kneeling because of the military and all that, but that's why the song's played. That's why it was originally played, 100 years ago, and that's why we've done it ever since then. So to me, it is about that, because that's what it originally was about. Why has that changed? I mean, that's whenever we do it, there's a big old flag on the field, and it's always out there. There's a ton of, veterans and active duty military, holding the flag up. And more times than not, there's a uniformed military person singing the anthem. I mean, it absolutely is about the military, I think. And that's what it feels like to me.
What was it like when you were playing? I mean, you had 39 games, I guess, in the NFL. Was politics?
No, in college.
College. I'm sorry. You're right.
39 in college. I only had one in the NFL.
Oh, bummer.
One game. It's all good. I was 34. Just to get a shot was.
No, you played, cool. Yeah. But think about this. Like, did you sense when you were with the team that the politics was part of it at all, or not really?
No. I mean, in college it's a little bit different, but no, absolutely not. And even though I was with the Seahawks for 5 months with the team, with the organization. It was never about that, man. Everyone was very appreciative of my service and all that. And the one game I played in, I get to run out of the tunnel in the Seahawks stadium with the American flag in my hand, leading the team out. And I'm standing on the sideline during the anthem and all that, and everybody's standing, everybody's respectful. It's like a powerful moment. So I don't know if that's not really about politics or anything, but I felt extreme pride in my country, and that everyone in the stands is you had that sense of unity, at least. And this is in 2015, so this is just a year before everything kind of changed. And now it's like it's just a different game. I don't even think anybody gave a damn about the outcomes yesterday. It was all we talked about was what we focused on and thought about was this. I didn't even really watch yesterday, not because I'm boycotting the NFL, but just because it was not the lead. The lead story was not what happened on the field at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You still watch more college now, or do you watch NFL?
I've kind of always watched more college, but
Me too.
Even a little more so now, just because it's first of all, they're no one's getting paid. Well, the kids aren't.
Not yet.
But but there's a little more, I don't know, the spirit of the game's still there. Up in the stands, it's all those, there's a lot more young people and a lot of pride in your school, and I guess pride in your school. Like maybe we should have a little more pride in our country in the stadiums too. In the NFL, I don't know.
School patriotism is infused with patriotism in general, I think, at college games. And I'm a big Alabama fan, and my listeners are sick of hearing me talk about Alabama, but I'm going to the LSU game, which I'm now beginning to think is not going to be a great game because LSU's they're going to have the best season.
Well, geez, everyone thought Vanderbilt was going to at least hang in there, and that was ugly.
Oh my God! I just talked about it. It could have been 100-0, Nate. That could have been 100-0. They put the sixth string in, and they still won 59-0. That was ugly. That was an ugly game. But I just think there's an opportunity to have a conversation about the right place and time. What's the right place? The right place to express your concern about an issue is not on a field, in my view. That's where we come to avoid, frankly, politics. We want to be entertained and excited about the sport, not the sport of political dialogue, because that can be a blood sport in its own way. We're excited about the play. I want to see what that long snapper does. I want to see what the special teams can pull off. I want to see a double reverse. I want to see the 2-point conversion when no one expects it. That's what I want to see. I don't care what you think about politics. I really don't. And I that's what saddens me the most, I think. I'll let you close it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of people agree with you, and I think that's why a lot of people are upset, because what's really interesting is people on the kind of both sides of the spectrum here, of the political spectrum, are not watching right now because of that, because that's their escapism. Sports is their escapism, get away from that stuff. So there's people from the, from the far left too that are like, I'm boycotting the NFL because they're not signing Colin Kaepernick, and it's become too political or whatever. So they're not watching either. And I mean, ratings are they're dropping already. And I think we're in trouble here. We could have some scary times in sports if we don't figure a way out to come together and they address this stuff. The league and who, God knows who else addresses this stuff, I guess in the off season, and tries to kind of clean it up and move forward.
I agree. Great to talk to you, Nate. Nate Boyer. What a great guy. Great guy, great athlete, great patriot. Can't get much better than that. We'll take a break. Navigate the culture war, which she said Trump started. Isn't that funny? Donald Trump comes on the scene in 2016 and he wins, and he ignited the culture war. We had St. Louis, Baltimore, all these protests igniting over race, and it was Trump who got this going?
Colin Kaepernick.
I don't care what you think about Trump. Standing for the national anthem doesn't mean you support Donald Trump. Doesn't even mean that you think the country is just. Doesn't even mean that you agree with the government or the policies of the Supreme Court. It means that you love your country, despite the fact that, like all of us as human beings, the country itself is not perfect. But we love our country, and that unites us. Okay? As everyone was focusing on that, I focused again on the Democrats' death grip on the issue of race. 855-40-LAURA. Lots of questions on the table. I'm throwing them out to you because I want to hear from you, especially if you played sports at a high level. You don't have to have played professional sports. Or if you were in the military, or if you are in the military, you're active duty, you're a veteran. Not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, not standing for the national anthem, using a field as a political protest. Do you think that is a legitimate and even admirable path for these athletes, most of whom make an enormous amount of money? Certainly a multiple of what anyone in the military earns or any first responder earns. Those people who actually safeguard their right to play on this field and make all that money. But my question to you is this an appropriate and admirable way to express your discontent? Now, it's not really discontent about the Michael Brown case or Philando Castile. That's the original case that got Kaepernick, I guess, to kneel during the national anthem. And by the way, the officer in the Philando Castile case was acquitted in June of 2017. We actually have a full review of evidence in our criminal justice system. We don't rule by emotion. We rule by facts. But there is a lot of emotion swirling around all of this. And in the response by the Democrats to immediately go to race is quite something. Donald Trump addressed this issue of race this morning. He was leaving New Jersey to come back to Washington. And he's clearly seeing this firestorm. A lot of the owners locked arms with the players. Oh, fine. Even not Jerry Jones, Bob Kraft of the New England Patriots criticized the president. They're a good friend. They have dinner a lot. Gave $1 million for the Trump inaugural. Even he criticized Trump.
I've never said anything about race. This has nothing to do with race or anything else. This has to do with respect for our country and respect for our flag.
the Democrats know that on substance, whether it's a single-payer health care that they ultimately want to replace the cratering Obamacare, or open borders, or these endless global trade deals, they cannot debate the Republicans on substance. In fact, they don't want to. As they made it clear last week, they were so upset at Bernie Sanders referencing single payer and this debate he's going to have on single payer. They're furious at Bernie Sanders because why? The Democrats are forced to debate and look like, until this Kaepernick Steph Curry thing happened, that the Democrats were actually going to have to defend their single payer obsession, which you know it is. I mean, you know that's what they want. Single payer will never apply to the Congress, by the way. They'll still get their concierge care. But the Democrats have race, and that's all they have. And even when players are multimillionaires living in mega mansions, driving Bentleys, the Democrats feel like they will succeed if those players are angry.
Not only is Donald Trump a petulant child, he's a racist. He was a racist in the 70s. He was one in the 80s. He was one in the 90s. He was one when he first stepped into the political arena. He was one when he kicked off his presidential campaign. And now, unfortunately, he's using this bullhorn to really push racism further and further.
No, I mean, that's just a joke. So wait, Donald Trump has been critical of John McCain, most of the American media, which are overwhelmingly white, any number of Democrat leaders who are overwhelmingly white. So in a short continuum of time, we could say, Donald Trump's only attacking white people. How dare you only criticize white people? Protesting the anthem in 2017 is really protesting Trump. That's what it's about.
Well, Laura, the difficulty is from the very beginning, when Kaepernick took the knee, no one was really clear on why he was doing this. If you go back, as I did the other day, it started with the shooting in Louisiana, the boy in Louisiana, and later Minnesota.
Philando Castile.
Those two shootings are the reason he protested in this way. Took a knee during the national anthem. Now it's become a general protest movement against racial inequity or inequality.
No. It's about Trump.
Well, now it's become about Trump.
Now it's about Trump. And President Trump probably opened the door to it being about Trump on Friday night. Part of me really liked what he said. And part of me thinks, I think he could actually get some of these players and their communities to open their eyes to conservative populism if he went there and preached economic renewal by economic development through tax cuts, through tax reform, through helping small businesses. And even saying to those players, I know some of you probably really don't like me. You probably don't even, you don't think that I can possibly understand where you came from or your families. But I'm here to tell you I am listening and I can help. But we can't talk past each other. So if Steph Curry doesn't want to come to the White House, well, God bless him. I wish he'd come. I think it'd be fun to chat, but I respect his right to come or not come. To me, that defangs Steph Curry. It defangs the protests. Because now what are they protesting? A guy who says he wishes them well? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where after thinking about it a lot over the weekend, I think it's the using son of a b. I wouldn't have done that. I don't think we
said a lot of these players.
He shouldn't have said son of a b. That's just adding to the coarseness of the culture, and especially with some of his past comments and the gross language. We just don't want that. I think we have enough of that. We have enough of that coming out of the professional sports and entertainment and the music industry, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess I came out of it after the weekend thinking the Democrats are obsessed with race. That's all they have. The players who can't stand for the anthem are, I think, really wrong-headed and ultimately hurting their sport. They're hurting the sport. And I don't think they're helping the country one bit. Not one bit. And also that Donald Trump kind of opened the door to giving these really few malcontents a bigger voice, a bigger platform, and more juice, which I don't think he needed. I don't think he needed that. I think he came off 2 weeks that were phenomenal. I think he finished that week at the United Nations, and that was a fantastic week. He got China to back down on North Korea. He had, I don't think he could have had a better week at the United Nations. And so then we come to Friday night. He goes to Alabama, does the event for Luther Strange.
Big Luther.
And then we end up in the NFL. I don't know. I wouldn't have advised him to do that, I have to say. At the same time, I agree with the sentiment that, frankly, they're bratty, they're misinformed, and they're not showing respect. It's not about to Trump. They're not showing respect to the country. See, I think Donald Trump takes it as a disrespect to him personally and to the country. I'd take himself out of it and say, I know a lot of people don't agree with, what I believe in and what I'm trying to do for the country. But I hope you listen to me. I hope you at least keep your ears open and your mind open. And I'd like to show you what you might be missing in some of your other conversations about growing the economy and a civic patriotism that's informed and unifying. And I'd love to have the conversation. I don't know. I just think that would help. I think that would grow the populist movement. And I think it wouldn't mean that he compromised his positions in any way at all. 855-40-LAW. We're going to get to your calls. Rich in Texas, line 2. Rich.
Yeah, Laura, what I believe is that these players are prostituting the national anthem and the flag. They're using it, holding it hostage in order to get their point across when they could use other means in order to get that point across. But they know this one is going to draw the biggest bang for the buck.
Yeah, well, I think, and Raymond, you can speak to this, I think this does nothing to unify the country at all.
No. It divides everybody. Look, here's the beauty of this. When you look at the flag, when you hear the national anthem, to my mind, and I think to the minds of most Americans, it is a red, white, and blue banner that is woven with the blood, the sweat, the toil, the joys of cultures from all over the world who came to be part of that one unified symbol, the flag, the melting pot of America. When you begin to exempt yourself from that perpetually, years after a struggle, I mean, look, I'm a second generation Italian and Spaniard. My parents, their people were not born here. They were immigrants. So should I take a knee every time their religious sensibilities are upset or somebody uses a racial slur against Italians or Spaniards? Where do you draw the line? And should these moments of public unity that are so rare become a platform for us to air every grievance and feeling of estrangement that we might have personally and impose that on the country? It's not the country's fault that you feel bad. It's the fault of people in the country. It's the fault of perhaps some old lingering feelings or racist thinking, but that can be overcome. And this country is the best place to do that. And that's been proven in history.
I think that unfortunately, using the SOB phrase
raised the tension.
It elevated the kneelers. The kneelers already have their platform in the NFL games, and it was hurting them. It was hurting the NFL kneeling for and not standing for the anthem. It was hurting them. So Trump comes in and he kind of, I know, he's kind of in the flow of a speech and he's throwing a lot of stuff out there. The crowd's reacting and you get caught up in the moment. And it was just an off-the-cuff comment. It shows you that even off-the-cuff comments have to be thought, they really have to think about them ahead of time. And these cultural moments are important. They're important for us as Americans. They're important for us politically. And they should be instructive. But as I was saying earlier, if there's any group of Americans in the year 2017 who should be upset with what's going on in the country, that group is Christian conservatives. You know, they have a reason, I guess. If it's just upset with the country, upset with the policies, upset with the Supreme Court, upset with judicial outcomes, then boy, they lost on the marriage front. They lost on abortion. Since 1974, they lost the abortion issue, 73, 74. I mean, they've lost on prayer in schools. How many of those social conservatives took a knee? Prominent people. Boy, do they have a reason to think things aren't going their way. They didn't vote for these policies, yet these policies were forced upon them in public schools and in the public square. So it's not conveying what you want it to convey to not stand for our anthem. Boy, how far we have fallen. 855-40-LAURA. We'll get to all your calls. Interesting piece in the Washington Post about the so-called restrictions that certain red states are putting on free speech. I mean, you'll love how this is phrased. We'll get to that and a lot more. Andy McCarthy's also going to join us about how Paul Manafort is being squeezed. All coming up.
That old black magic has me in its spell.
He led the birther movement. Mexican immigrants called them rapists.
Do you dread going to the mailbox this time of year? Well, if you're a timeshare owner, I know you do. Another year, another maintenance fee bill that increased, or maybe you've received an additional special assessment this year, too. It's like throwing thousands of dollars down the drain. Well, for the past 6 years, my friends at ResortRelease.com have been helping timeshare owners put an end to those timeshare maintenance fees. They'll help you legally and permanently terminate that timeshare contract and end all future payments guaranteed. They've even earned an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. So go to ResortRelease.com and call them at 855-66-LAURA. ResortRelease.com gives every customer a 100% guarantee that lets you legally and permanently walk away from that timeshare. And if you don't get out of the timeshare contract, you do not pay a dime. 2018's maintenance fee bills will arrive any day, so get out now before you pay that fee. Visit ResortRelease.com or call them at 855-66-LAURA to see if you qualify. 855-6 from the New Orleans Saints, of course, quarterback, and weighing in on this controversy. Let's go to Laura in Colorado, line 2. Everybody keep it brief. Laura.
Hi, Laura. I just wanted to say that I've been a Denver Bronco fan pretty much since they won the Super Bowl in 1998. Avid fan, always want to go to the game every year. Husband brought me tickets for my birthday because my birthday's in November. And honestly, I just don't even want to watch it. Like, if it's going to be politics on football when it's a time to unite the country, I just can't do it. And I was a diehard, Laura. Like, it killed me. I still wore my Bronco gear.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I watch the Redskins religiously. I'm a total Redskins fan, and I couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. Let's go to Chris in Alabama, line 4, very quickly. Hey, Chris, go ahead.
Hey, Laura. I just really feel like this has gotten out of hand. You know, I think I grew up in the South. They're wanting to tear down Confederate flags and statues, and my question is, and certainly I don't have any link to the Confederate flag, and that's fine, but I do to the American flag. And it really bothers me that the examples these players are setting in young children's eyes. And
I agree. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I think you made your point, and well made indeed. Andy McCarthy's going to stop by. The Mueller investigation update in your call. From running errands to going out with my family to the studio, I just depend on my car. And I depend on it as much as you depend on yours to get you around. So if your car broke down today, can you actually afford the repairs? I mean, can you? I mean, I can't afford the time it takes, but the repairs, they can be hefty. You can go up in the thousands if something really serious blows with your car. Even a small sensor can cost you several $100s. Well, look what I did. I got extended vehicle service protection from CarShield. It's like you don't want to replace your engine, your transmission, your heater, your it could be your air conditioning. Forget it. Extended vehicle service protection is the way to go. And CarShield can cover practically everything. Mechanical repairs, your car's computer, GPS, electronics. And then you can have your favorite mechanic or your dealership do the work. And then CarShield gets them paid directly. And so you're not out of pocket. So it's great. You also have 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is in the shop. So get covered by CarShield like I did, and don't worry about being able to afford those repairs. Call 800-CAR-6100 and mention the code Laura, or visit carshield.com and use the code Laura to save 10%. That's carshield.com, code Laura. Deductible may apply. Squeezing a former campaign chairman manager in order to try to remove Donald Trump from office. That's what they're doing in that case. And they have a dream team of lawyers working around the clock to do that. And as far as I can tell, Donald Trump has this guy Ty Cobb, and I don't know who else. We're going to get into this in just a moment on the Laura Ingraham Show with Andy McCarthy. Before we do, Gary in Nevada on line 2, and we're going to also ask Gary about this, as a veteran, what does he think about this controversy with the NFL? Gary.
Well, I unfortunately in 1968, I was a pretty good two-way player in high school football, and I was looking forward to playing college football. However, Uncle Sam called me, and I served 2 years. I was in Laos and Cambodia,
God bless you,
Vietnam, for about 3 months. I was medevaced out. Some of my African-American brothers, some of my Hispanic brothers, and some of my Caucasian brothers didn't come back. That's what the national anthem represents. It doesn't represent... I stand with Colin Kaepernick with his beef with the NFL, but when 200 players in the NFL say that they will not stand for the national anthem, I want to let them know that I won't watch any more NFL games. I will not attend any NFL game. I feel that they owe that to the veterans that lost their life to protect their right to do what they're doing.
Gary, first of all, God bless you for serving this country in uniform. We honor all who did and do. And thank you so much for doing that. And in such a difficult period in our nation's history, and you served. You did. But I will ask, since when does standing for the national anthem mean that you agree with the president? Or you agree with the government's policies? I mean, I would have been sitting for the national anthem for the past 8 years during Obama. Or during the time that the Supreme Court, decided to strike down states' ability to define marriage. Or in protest to abortion. But I stand because I love the country. It's not doesn't mean everything I agree with. Doesn't mean the Supreme Court does everything. Or doesn't mean I like Obama on all issues. Doesn't mean I like Trump on all issues. It means I love America. That's what I have a problem with. Gary, I appreciate it. Joining us now, Andy McCarthy, one of our absolute favorites, columnist for National Review, former assistant U.S. attorney, and he has an interesting perspective on this. The case that people kind of stop talking about, but when we stop talking about it, things are happening. And I also want to get his take on this NFL deal and the left's obsession with race. They bring everything to race. Even patriotism now has a relationship to race and racism. Andy joins us now. Andy, how are you, my friend? Good to talk to you.
I'm doing great, Laura. How are you?
I'm great. I said earlier that if anyone has a reason to take a knee in protest, it's social conservatives who've seen marriage redefined, who've seen the drug culture get legitimized in certain states, who've seen decades and decades of abortion legalized in the United States by the Supreme Court. I mean, there's a lot that social conservatives could be upset about, but they stand.
Yeah, standing is about what unites us, which is supposed to be, as you put it, our love for the country. And I must say, to have this now be a Trump thing, when it started during Obama, makes it, I think, demonstrates to me that it's even more incoherent what the kneeling is all about than it was when it started. I really think, Laura, it's the activist left, which is projecting this protest as if it was representative of how large segments of the population think. I don't think it is. To the extent it's built on this notion that, the police are on a jihad against black men in America, it's built on a lie. So I guess it might as well now morph into a protest of Trump, since it didn't make any sense what the protest was about in the first place.
Yeah, there are so few places today where politics is really not central or a strong element. in sports really was one of them. And I have to say it has affected my viewing of the NFL. I didn't watch the entire Redskins game. With the kids, I don't have time to watch all games anyway. I used to, but not anymore. But it didn't feel the same. Isn't that sad? It just didn't feel the same to me. And I'm being completely candid.
Yeah, I'm a season ticket holder. I guess going back to the time I was in my mid-teens.
Wow.
And I gave it up when I was in law school, and I never went back to being a season ticket holder. But I've always been a nut for it. I was one of these guys who rearranged his life to watch football games. And I'm not going to make a bold statement that I'm never ever going to watch football again. Although I'm a Jet fan, so that would be a pretty easy commitment to make.
Horrible. Giants aren't much better, by the way.
But I must say, I think it hurts them. I got in a little trouble in a stat on Twitter saying this a few weeks ago when I said I'm the person the NFL needs, which people took to be that I was making an egomaniacal statement, and I was trying to say something exactly the opposite. I'm the average fan who just loves the game and for whom it's a respite from politics. And if you're driving me away, then the thing is over.
Well, think about it. This Alejandro Villanueva, obviously Hispanic player, the only one to come out of the locker room and actually stand for the national anthem from the Steelers, right? Only one.
Right. Yep. But he's the hero of the day, which.
Oh no! Do you see? He's now beloved, including all the Steelers fans. Love him.
Right. So it goes to show where the country is versus where the elites are, which is what you write your books about. So,
yeah, but by the way, I will say I don't think President Trump should have elevated the Kaepernick, the Steph Curry. I would have said if I were Trump, it's kind of sad that some of these players don't want to come to the White House. It's not about me. It's about being honored by your country for a great athletic achievement. And sad that he's not coming, but I look forward to meeting as many players as possible, and I wish them the best in the year ahead. I mean, I think that would have been better for Trump than using the SOB. I wouldn't have done any of that.
Yeah. We had a great district judge in New York, John Keenan, who used to have a shtick that he did at the beginning of every trial where he told people that they needed to stand up when the judge came in the room. But understand that you're not standing up for me. It's the institution. It's about what it's about. It's not about agreement or disagreement. It's about honoring something that we need if we're going to have a country. And I'm not doing justice to it because I always found it stirring the few times I heard it. But it was the kind of thing, I think there was an opportunity for the president to do something like that, and I'm sorry he didn't.
Yeah. So I can both agree with the underlying sentiment that there are a lot of spoiled brats who are getting paid millions of dollars to make a living, protected by the military, by the way. And I could agree with the underlying sentiment, but also why elevate your adversaries? I mean, I'd really annoy them by being a successful president. I'd annoy all the right people by being really successful. All right, let's talk about Mueller because we're ignoring some big issues that have cropped up in the recent days. Obviously, a lot of people know Paul Manafort was the campaign chairman for the Trump campaign until August. He was replaced ultimately by Kellyanne Conway and Steve Bannon. He is someone who's done a lot of work internationally, as has John Podesta, as has Paul Begala, as has Matlin and Carville, for foreign governments. Okay, he's done a lot for foreign representatives of governments or foreign businessmen. That's what they do. They're registered as foreign agents. Okay, so now he gets nixed from the campaign. And we find out that he's been surveilled. We find out it's incidental. Then it was removed. Then it was put back in by, I guess, Comey. And where are we now in this case?
Well, we don't really know where we are, and that's been part of the frustration of it. The president's in charge of classified information in our government. So I've really been puzzled why the administration doesn't just put more out there about what this was all about what the unmasking was all about, this whole idea of revealing the names of Americans who incidentally come up in intelligence collection. So you wish they would do more in the way of transparency, because I think it'd be in their interest to do it. But in small compass, what's going on here is they are squeezing Manafort in order to try to make a case on him. I have never seen a situation, as I said to people when this happened, if you're dealing with someone you regard as a cooperating witness, you don't get a search warrant. And even if you get a search warrant, you don't go into the guy's house in the wee hours of the morning. You have to get special permission from a judge to do a search warrant before 6 in the morning. And that's generally reserved for situations where you're either sure the guy will destroy the evidence if he knows the police are about to come in the door, or you're dealing with like dangerous drug cartels where it would be actually dangerous for the agents as they come in the door. So that's the showing they had to make to a judge to get the judge to allow them to do that. And Laura, this is in connection with a guy who the day they did it met with investigators from the Senate Intelligence Committee, turned over 300 documents to them, and was scheduled to testify voluntarily before the Senate Judiciary Committee the very day they did the search warrant. So there's no...
Well, what's your gut, Andy? What's your gut? What's your gut? Do they didn't find what they thought they would find, and so they're like, we got to throw a Hail Mary, try to find something in his house under the lamp or something? I mean, what's your gut?
I think they think that if anybody's got something on Trump in connection with this Russia business, and what we're talking about now, it's hard to remember what we're talking about. What we're talking about is
no underlying crime
with the 2016 election, right? Mm-hmm. But if anybody has it, they figure Manafort has it, and they are squeezing him to give them whatever he has on Trump.
All right, before we let you go, the new travel ban now goes into effect. The president on Sunday issued this new order, and he indefinitely bans almost all travel to the United States from 7 countries, including nations covered by his original ban, citing threats to national security. It includes Venezuela on that list, but it's Chad, North Korea, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, etc. What's your sense on this new ban?
Well, this should have been uneventful. I mean, if we remember, the 7 countries that we started out with were actually picked by Obama and Congress, not Trump. And the common sense of this thing is that these are countries that are either hostile to the United States in the case of Iran, or countries that have dysfunctional governments, that we can't vet people who want to come here to determine whether they're a security threat or not. And the only reason that it got controversial is because of the politics that anything attaches to Trump has, and the fact that he said things about Muslim terrorists during the campaign, which I think partially because of the way he expresses himself, but mostly because of the politics, they tried to turn into anti-Muslim animus. But I guess the upside to this, if there is an upside, is that it probably moots the Supreme Court consideration of this a few weeks from now, which I think we talked about this when the court made its decision, back in toward I guess it was during the summer. It seemed that the court, knowing that the ban was only supposed to last 3 or 4 months, depending on what aspect you were talking about, that the court might never hear this case because it would be dismissed as by the time we got here.
Just mooted, and I think, it took him a long time to kind of get there, but I think this could be unanimous for him. If this new order hadn't been issued, I think it might have been a unanimous win for the president. Andy McCarthy, thanks for keeping us up to date on the Mueller investigation. He has a dozen-plus attorneys working on, the removal of Donald Trump from office, by hook or by crook. News on the only player on the Pittsburgh Steelers who ended up emerging from the locker room to stand for the national anthem. Raymond.
Well, Alejandro Villanueva was, by the way, a former Army Ranger, a Bronze Star recipient for valor. He went out of the tunnel, stood during the national anthem. He violated the request of his coach, Mike Tomlin of the Steelers. And you Steelers fans, I hope you're listening to this. After the game at the press conference, Tomlin said, "We were looking for 100% participation." And he elaborated, saying, "Like I said, I was looking for 100% participation.
The military is
We
too.
were going to be respectful of our football team." Of our football team. Not the flag, not this man's service, but the football team.
These people are so out of touch with the fan base. They're out of touch with the sense of American patriotism that transcends politics. It's not about you. It's about the country. It's not about you and your political views. We all have problems with what's happened to the country. A lot of us have concerns. Mm-hmm. And my friend Craig Shirley reminds me, the nation's always been divided. From the time of its founding,
absolutely,
the nation has been divided. Yeah. Okay.
And we need unity now, more than ever before.
I mean, but we're not going to be unified. We're going to be divided on politics, but get your rear ends off the ground, get your knee off the ground, and stand for your country. You don't have to stand for Trump. Stand for the country. 855-40-LAURA. More on this. Are you stopping watching the NFL? Will you stop and not watch again?